Most people work decades of their life, but never truly get ahead. I first discovered Naval and this book at a time when I was questioning everything. At the time, I was working to build a high-pressure career path. So there's plenty of success by the look of it from the outside, but constantly feeling like I was on this daily treadmill of work and life that just didn't feel right. And then one day I heard Naval on a podcast and he said something that stopped me cold. If you want an extraordinary life, you need to stop playing the ordinary game. And that line really hit me hard because I was deep in the ordinary game of chasing titles, promotions, checking boxes, always busy but never really free. That's the difference between short-term comfort and long-term leverage. And this book, The Almanack of Naval Ravikant, showed me how to build long-term leverage when I was in that place. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the biggest lessons that change how I think about wealth, happiness, and success. And you can apply them today to quietly get ahead of 99% of people. So there are two parts I want to talk to you through in this book that change the way that I work and live. And the first is how to build real wealth without trading your time for it. And the second one is how to build lasting happiness in your life without depending on your current life circumstances. Let's first start with wealth. And really, this shifted how I think about wealth versus money. And Naval says, you're not going to get rich renting out your time. I really resonated with this because for most of my life, that's exactly what I did. That's exactly what my parents did and the generations before them. My parents taught me to go to school, graduate, get a degree, get a good steady job, and put my head down and just work hard. I was trading hours for a steady paycheck and my freedom. The better I performed, the more I got paid, but only as long as I kept going. But in this book, Naval, he redefined wealth for me. And he said that wealth is the thing that earns while you sleep. And that means assets. It could be property, products that you're making, whether online or physical products, your equity in businesses, value that exists outside of what you measure as time in your calendar. And after reading that part, I started asking myself different questions. So what can I build once that helps people again and again? What can I buy that becomes an asset that earns money in my life? Because I was always a saver and I invested in the markets since I was in my 20s. Instead of spending money on shopping, I looked into buying property and renting it out. I started a side hustle of selling digital products on Etsy. Basically, I wanted to experiment with this concept of creating wealth. What value can I create that's not tied to how many hours I work? And for me, that's when everything started to change. And this brings me to the concept of leverage. And what I realized through reading Naval's ideas is that with the help of technology and social media, anyone can use leverage to change their life. And there are three types of leverage that he mentioned. So the first one is labor. That's hiring people to do your jobs. You can do this remotely, like me, based in London, being able to work with people from all over the world remotely to get things done, and oftentimes doing it much better than I can do it. And second is capital, using money to make more money. So leveraging your existing money to create money through investing. And three is code and media. So creating things like content, like podcasts, videos, writing, or even web apps that scale infinitely. And the third one is what changed everything for me beyond the first two. When I started creating videos, templates, or courses, and digital products that could live online and serve people without me, I felt like I was cheating. It just felt too easy, but it wasn't easy. It took a lot of hard work to make them, but it was leverage work. I couldn't even dream of this when I was trading time for money in a job that I worked for over 80 hours per week. On YouTube, I created my videos with the aim of helping others with what I'm learning in life and my work. But it also become a form of leverage in terms of the amazing community that I get to share my work with each week. And thank you so much for being here. And working with brands and partners to speak and teach about the topics that I'm super passionate about. But also in terms of access to the world, where anyone from anywhere can watch my videos, even when I'm sleeping. That's the difference between working harder and working smarter. Because leverage, it gives you your time back, and with it, your life, while you're doing something that matters to you. And that brings me to specific knowledge, which is one of your biggest superpowers. If you're feeling stuck in your job or unsure about what to do next, and this part's for you. So it's the kind of stuff that feels like play to you, but looks like work to others. This is often where your edge or your unfair advantage is. And we all have it. You have it too. You just have to look harder in your own work right now. When I was in my junior year in university, I made this huge mistake where I tried to become the person I thought I was supposed to be. So I polished up my CV to get into an industry that I thought I wanted. I went to all the job fairs. I tried to fit into the mold. And then I went through a self-discovery journey since then, what my specific knowledge is by quitting finance, then went into working in tech, and eventually creating my own business of helping others rise above the traditional definition of success. And really, ultimately, what actually worked for me was being myself. So sharing what I was learning, sharing what I was failing at, talking openly about my burnout journey, about focus, about working the way that supports your life, not replacing it. And people started listening, not because I had all the answers, but because I was being real, that I'm just someone figuring out like everybody else. And specific knowledge is rarely taught. It's uncovered by following what your curiosity is. And these could be your weird obsessions, right? To be honest, we are all weird to some degree. So I learned to embrace all of my weirdness. And your weirdness could be your natural strength that you're already doing and using every single day. And sometimes it looks like the problems that you love solving when no one's even paying you. And Naval said that escape competition through authenticity. So in other words, your edge is a thing that only you can do because of your story, your interests, and your way of seeing the world. You are one of a kind, literally, because there's a stat that the chances of you being born into this world is 1 in 400 trillion. Let that sink in for a little bit. It took a lot for you to be here. So go do your thing. But most of us, we trade all of that for the safe path. We follow linear careers and do what looks impressive on paper. But is that worth a life true to yourself and your unique talents? Because the thing is, the real risk isn't doing something that's unconventional and failing. The real risk here is spending years in a path that slowly drains you. So when you specialize in something you care so deeply about, you can work with so much more energy, make better decisions, and attract more opportunity. And I feel that professional success in terms of wealth is only one part of the puzzle. But the idea of embracing a life that you're content and happy is what will help you get to what you want. And I always said that you can be ambitious to work towards what you want while being happy with what you have. When I heard Naval say that happiness is the choice you make and the skill you develop, which might sound obvious now to me, but I felt really called out at the time because I was doing the thing that so many high achievers do. I was postponing joy in my life for that next thing, the next thing, and then the next. It's never enough. I'll say to myself, I'll rest when the project is done. I'll be happy when I hit that next revenue milestone, and I'll finally book that trip around the world once I get everything ticked off. But what I realized was that happiness just kept moving further away. So I stopped trying to earn it. I started practicing happiness as a choice in the here and now. So simple things like daily walks, protecting my morning time, reading my favorite books instead of doom scrolling, saying no more often, letting the silence back into my life, spending more time with my loved ones right now instead of one day when it might be too late. And slowly for me, I started to feel lighter. It's not because life was perfect, but because I stopped making my inner peace optional to myself. And if you're waiting to be happy once you get there, you will realize that the illusion of there was never real in the first place. And in this book, Naval also shared 4 simple habits to cultivate happiness in our everyday life. And the first one is acceptance. It's time to accept yourself because life is short. And so many of us are exhausting ourselves trying to live up to a version of success that wasn't even what we wanted. And once I accepted that my value isn't in my output, I started to breathe again every day, and it felt really good. And number 2 is reframing. So we're all going to face things like bad traffic, rejections from the opportunity that we really wanted, maybe delays on things that we want to happen right now. But what Naval reminds us in the book is that every frustration is an opportunity to choose a better response. And I know that's easier said than done, and I can say this from personal experience, but it does get easier with practice. Reframing those bad moments can help make life feel like it's on easy mode instead of a constant battle uphill. And the third one is physical foundation. Something that Naval said which really hit me is that a calm mind, a fit body, and a house full of love cannot be bought. It has to be earned. And isn't that so true? Because money can buy freedom and choice, but you can't buy those things. It made me look around my own life and those around me. Those who have those 3 things have worked at their relationships, their health, and their mind to get to where they are. And often we sacrifice so much of our lives for successes that may look good on the paper and outside, but behind it all, we're unfulfilled, we're burned out, unwell, and we crave real connection with others. So I had to unlearn the negative habits of skipping lunch, ignoring fatigue, and just powering through no matter what. Because you can't build happiness on a foundation of exhaustion. The fourth one is stillness. So to me, meditation isn't about incense and perfection and the perfect cushion to sit on. They might help, but that's not the point. So for me, sometimes it's a 10-minute pause before opening my inbox. Sometimes it's a slow walk without my phone, just watching the world go by. Because being still and stillness is what helps us remember we're not just what we do. We're also who we are when we stop doing. And there's this beautiful line that Naval shares that really stays with me. Peace is happiness at rest. Happiness is peace in motion. So it's not about achieving some ecstatic version of joy. It's learning to be okay in this moment. And it's not because everything is perfect, but because you stop fighting what is. And let's say 5 years from now, you could be exactly where you are, or you could start today and let 5 years of focused work and inner peace give you 40 plus years of freedom and happiness. So ask yourself this: what do I want more of in my life? What can I build that earns while I rest? And what will I regret not starting today? Because time will pass anyway. Why not build a life of wealth and happiness that lasts? So if this resonated, I'd love to know what you plan to do to build your long-term leverage. And you might also enjoy this video about how this one book changed how I see time forever. Thanks so much for being here, and I'll see you in the next video.